A wild and diverse continent known for its ancient history, this is where the first humans came from, and more recent political history.
All shall enjoy equal human rights.
And incredible wildlife adventures alongside Earth's largest land animals. So far today we've seen rhinos, baboons, warthogs, and now we found a couple giraffe feeding just off the road here. This is South Africa. This land offers families the chance to see nature at its wildest.
There is lions on either side of me.
And closest.
Just watch the leaves. You might want to bite it.
While immersing in a rich culture, this is the Africa of my childhood dreams, with wild adventures of exotic safaris and exploration. This is
Travel with Kids, South Africa. I'm Nathan. And I'm Seamus.
And we're Mom and Dad.
We're traveling around the world discovering amazing countries, new cultures, and really wild experiences together.
Come along with us as we learn all about our planet and about being together as a family.
As we discover the wonders of the world, the wonders of nature, and sometimes wonder, what were we thinking in Travel with Kids? Located at the southern tip of Africa, South Africa is about 1/8 the size of the United States, or about 1/3 of the size of the European Union. Human activity has been a part of this land for millions of years. In fact, a majority of the world's human ancestor fossils have been found here. Over 50 million people descend from a variety of ethnic groups and speak many different languages here. Combine that with the wild safari adventures, we're about to find out what this great continent is all about. We booked our trip through DSA Vacations. DSA, a leader in South African tourism, has the expertise and experience to provide our family the trip of a lifetime to Southern Africa, which is quite an undertaking for any family. After all, this is not your typical summer vacation. After an overnight flight on South African Airways from Washington, D.C., where we're pampered,
And this isn't even first class. It's a remote, and it pops out.
we arrive in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Perry. Feels like I'm driving because the steering wheel is on the wrong side of the car. Are you on the wrong side or are we on the wrong side?
You on the wrong side.
For the first day, we opt for some downtime in our hotel, the Sand & Sun, located in an upscale neighborhood of Johannesburg with shops and restaurants adjacent to the hotel. And the Mandela Square area, the Sand & Sun is a perfect place to get settled, rest up, get over some jet lag, and get ready for adventure. Our first stop, we visit the Cradle of Humankind. To learn more about the famous humans who were discovered here,
30 million years ago.
the museum reviews the history of life on Earth.
And here's where the comet hits and all the dirt.
Located about an hour outside of Johannesburg, the Cradle of Humankind shows human history through displays and fun interactive exhibits.
The plates are moving. Yeah, this is the countries forming. The continents breaking apart.
The Cradle of Humankind is where the Australopithecus skull of Mrs. Ples, as it's called, and the skeleton Littlefoot were found. These remains are some of the most important evidence of early humans in the world.
She doesn't even look like a person.
And the caves around here host the majority of fossils found in the world, with 40 sites, 13 of which have been excavated. After visiting the museum, we head into one of the caves to get a look at the dig sites.
Right meters away, we have the skeleton of the ape. The ape that dates back 3.3 million years ago.
How do you say thank you in Xhosa?
Diabulela.
After discovering South Africa's ancient history, it's time to learn more about its more recent history. A history even our young tour guide, Linda, from Hilton Ross Tours, remembers vividly as we head into Soweto, Johannesburg's most well-known township.
Quite tough, right? Because you had police presence at the schools.
You can still see, touch, and feel evidence of this turbulent history in Soweto today at the Regina Mundi Church.
So can you tell me the difference in the blood holes between these and those?
This was shot from inside and this was shot from outside.
And this is where you can prove that they're using live ammunition. Now this was broken by a police officer banging his rifle butt over this table.
And the peaceful history that has occurred since then.
Now do you know Madiba, father of the nation? Now right over you standing, you've just walked in his footsteps. This is where Mandela was seated when first came to this church.
Today, Soweto is a peaceful place where many different classes live side by side. With government transitional housing built for families to get out of the shanty towns and have a better home.
The houses over there have no water or electricity.
Just down the hill from a suburb that looks like someplace back home.
And the houses over there have running water, electricity. They have like cars and transportation stuff and phones.
But Linda says the tight community here looks out for one another, and it's very safe with very little crime.
People know each other so well that if you break into someone's home, you'd be apprehended by the community.
As it seems so as we eat at an outdoor cafe.
We're having lunch in Soweto. We have Desmond Tutu's house right down the street this way, Nelson Mandela's house right up the street the other way. Having a little pap and curry.
This is what Nelson Mandela ate for 30 years while he was in jail. Pap tastes like rice.
Tastes like rice? Made from corn.
Soon the boys are playing with local kids. The streets fill with laughter, and for a moment, a global connection. This is why we travel. A sight that would not have been possible just a few years ago.
To 9:30, here I come.
To me, this is the South Africa that Nelson Mandela envisioned for the youth and the future.
Mandela wants a figure,
In this game of street tag, no one here is aware of skin color. After lunch, Linda takes us to Nelson Mandela's house, now a museum, where we see history firsthand.
So you may go inside and see his original handwritings.
Then we head deeper into Soweto, down into the poorest part, an unofficial township called Kliptown.
Poverty is too high, unemployment rate is high, education becomes an obligation to some of the kids.
Where corrugated tin shacks and families going about their daily life stroll past us.
Education is our first priority because we believe in one thing, that through education you can defeat poverty.
After winding past tiny shack after shack.
In this community, you're only going to find out one year it is shared by more than 5 or 6 families who are speaking 5 or 6 different languages. That's why it becomes a purpose that you must start learning how to speak some other basic languages.
Where everything is recycled out of need, the boys find some friends.
Yay, kids! Yeah, they have like little things in their hand and they're able to throw them on the ground and make them start spinning. That's so cool.
You can put it even here.
Oh my gosh!
We feel very safe here, and everyone is friendly and greets us with a smile. Our guide shows us some of the major efforts to end poverty.
So what you're going to do is you're going to visit one of their organizations so you could see what is happening, what are we doing in this community.
At the Kliptown Youth Program and Preschool.
Because of apartheid, the colours moved to...
This is the kindergarten for the Soweto.
After visiting their lunchroom and helping with the dishes, now if we can only get them to do that back home. Our boys have fun singing with the students.
You're awesome.
And playing with them.
Yeah?
Can I chase him?
Yeah, you can.
These are the experiences that make traveling so rewarding. Really engaging in the local culture and spending time in places like this. And the kids have quite an experience, or we all do. That lasts forever. We also learn how we can help communities like this. And in fact, when we got home, Seamus helped raise money for this school. Now it's time to say goodbye. We head back to the Santon Sun Hotel for dinner on the rooftop around a warm fire. For tomorrow, we head into the bush to see a different side of South Africa.
Today we are heading out to Madikwe Game Reserve.
We're leaving Johannesburg to go on a safari.
Located north of Johannesburg, near the Botswana border, it's a nice drive through the villages and towns of rural Africa. And after a few hours of driving, where quiet toys and games like Mad Libs in their backpacks come in handy, we arrive at the park.
This is the gate.
Established in 1991, Madikwe Game Reserve hosts 66 mammal species and over 300 species of birds. And just inside the gates, our dreams of Africa come true in a thundering display as we spot our first animals.
Oh my God, we just saw a giraffe. I've never seen a real zebra before.
Elephant.
No. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Followed by a Big Five spotting.
There's like a herd of elephants next to 2 zebras and a bunch of springboks.
Big Five is a term coined by big game hunters in the past for the 5 most dangerous animals you can hunt. The list includes lion, leopard, buffalo, elephant, and rhino.
That's huge.
After about 45 minutes bouncing along dirt roads and spotting wildlife, we come to our safari lodge.
Good. I'm Miriam.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nathan.
Nathan, nice to meet you. That's a refreshing time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't believe we saw all that just on the way here.
We're staying at Madikwe Safari Lodge, where service is top-notch and accommodations are luxurious.
After lunch, we're met by Andres, our safari guide who shows the kids the Eco House, a learning center where they get an orientation on the area and get to meet some of its residents.
Here is a python. Or you can actually handle Zela.
Who's that?
Now Zela is a Burmese bird-eating spider. She's got little claws in her feet so that she can climb into trees and grab her food.
The kids have a great time learning about the creepy crawlies of the African bush, but are anxious to meet some of the larger residents. So it's time to head out on our first safari.
Fully like the Indiana Jones ride.
It does feel like it. But does the Indiana Jones ride have this?
see zebras.
Now, who can tell me, is zebra white with black stripes or black with white stripes?
It's white with black stripes.
Why do you say that?
Because the black ends like at its belly.
It's actually bicolored. The white and the black, even if you take off the hair, it stays.
And after pointing out rhinos, hornbills, an elephant, and other birds, the kids start in with lots of questions for this real-life adventurer.
Have you ever been charged by a lion?
Yes, I have. It ran towards me, and it went.
What'd you do?
And I stood there and shouted to it, "Stop!" And then it stopped.
How did that make it go away?
Lions tend not to like it when you shout at them too loudly.
And if you're wondering why the predators and big cats don't bother the guests that are in the safari van,
In the car, you are an animal that it won't be able to attack. You're too big, you're too smelly, and you're just not food. On foot, you represent food.
and then, as if on cue,
There's a lion right there, so I have to whisper. It just got an animal and it puts it in the thorn bush so no one else can take it.
Weighing in at about 300 to 500 pounds when full grown, lions are the biggest cats in South Africa. Lions live in groups called prides, which usually consist of 15 cats, mostly female lions, and their cubs, with a couple of males. But the 2 males we find are out on their own, probably adolescents not yet old enough to take over a pride. They spend much of their day sleeping.
He got up from sleep, so he's cranky. So awesome. He's opening his mouth.
And the action is about to get much more exciting as we notice an uninvited dinner guest.
Smell where the lions are, and only if he's satisfied that he's not going to get killed will he go and grab a few bites to eat.
And they walked right by our Jeep, and it scared the bejeebers out of me.
As the sun starts to set, we head just down the road and Andres parks the Jeep and pulls out snacks and drinks for a tradition known as sundowners in the African bush. And as we relax and talk about all the animals we've seen today, Andres shows the kids tracks.
The zebra's tail. The zebra actually rolled in the dust here.
This right here, it's all an elephant's trunk. And then on the other side of a tree from that, there's 2 lions.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, down there. Down there by a
And after we pack up and get back in the Jeep, we discover Nathan was right when he said right down the road. One of the lions is walking just a few hundred meters from where we stopped.
back at the lodge, it's time for our dinner. And the kids play with their new friends
Say Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
before calling it a night. Although game drives leave early in the morning, before the sun is up to catch the animals while they're the most active, be sure to bring plenty of layers to stay warm. After last night's lion encounter, we don't have to work too hard to get the boys up and going. And before we're even a few minutes from the lodge, we are nose to horn with...
So these are rhinoceros. So these are, of course, white rhinoceros.
The name white rhino comes not from the color,
because the British couldn't spell,
but from the word wide, wide-lipped rhinoceros.
You're looking at about 1.5 tons there. Big bull, 2.5 tons.
Do they have names?
What would you like to name him?
Bob.
Bob? So that's Bob the rhino, and what would his accomplice or his female be?
Ooh, Bob and Sally.
Right. So it's Bob and Sally.
Cool.
It's quite a substantial horn in him there.
And that horn put the rhinos on the verge of extinction in the early 1900s. But thanks to breeding and conservation efforts, they've been reintroduced into the wild. They still are on the endangered species list. So what's so special about this horn?
Horn of course is made out of keratin. Keratin, same stuff as your hair. So it's actually just a compressed hair bunch.
In many cultures, it's considered a cure for disease. So smugglers and poachers try to get the rhino horn and sell it.
Strangely enough, a very tiny brain, a very small brain for such a large animal. These have a brain a bit larger than my fist.
See, ladies, I have a big brain.
As if he heard the brain comment, the rhino turns towards us.
And yes, he is going to challenge us. Don't worry. If it does charge, don't worry.
Andres tell us they have very bad eyesight, but they can move really fast.
If it comes at you at about 40, 45 kilometers an hour.
But I guess he decided we were bigger. He veers off and herds his family away.
You don't really want the rhino to charge you now. Believe me.
After our rhino encounter, Andres lets us get out of the Jeep near a troop of baboons for a look around.
There's our troop of baboon.
But not before checking the area. But the baboons seem to be more scared of us and take off for higher ground.
There used to be a buffalo bull that used to live right here.
Buffalo bulls on their own are some of the most dangerous creatures out here. But this one's not here today, so we get the all clear. And we explore the cliff face where tree roots tangle over giant boulders. And the little hike makes us feel like real adventurers.
Smells like soap. We see a giraffe.
Can you see that they move both legs on the same side forwards at the same time? And they do that for stability, and specifically stability of the neck.
And those legs alone are taller than most human beings. About 6 feet tall on full-grown giraffes, allowing them to run over 30 miles per hour. Giraffes were my favorite animal as a kid.
Huge long necks, they are the only animals that compete with elephants for the tops of the trees.
And its tongue is even long, at almost 2 feet long.
Hey guys, a very easy way to see whether it's a male or female is to actually look at the horns itself.
Do they have horns?
Top of the horns of the females, they will have almost a clump of hair looking like a candle. The males tend to be bald on top.
The one on this side, the male.
Yeah.
The kids enjoy taking photos of these giant, graceful creatures. I would highly recommend bringing a small digital camera for each of the kids if possible, as well as a field journal so they can document their trip. On the way back to camp, we spot a buffalo hiding in the bushes.
This is what we call an old daga boy. Daga comes from the Zulu word for mud. Now these buffalo usually rolls around in the mud quite a lot. Very, very aggressive, very dangerous creatures.
Look, they look girly because they're horns.
No.
What is this?
That snorting is, you've just upset me, now you're woken me up, and I'm in a bad mood now.
Back at camp, Andres takes the boys out along with a couple other kids from camp to teach them about bush survival skills. This is a kids safari, which Madikwe Safari Lodge offers for guests.
Squash it up, and then just rub a small bit of that.
Like that, squashed?
Yeah.
Yeah, yellow.
Yellow is usually, grays don't eat me. And that will usually upset your stomach. You need to take some bark and make yourself some string. Go through that, and then you've got food.
It's cool.
Releases it. See there? Works like a charm. You're actually going to survive now. So you can't be squeamish. break it apart.
Bite?
And then look inside. No, break it apart. Okay, you see all the grass seeds in it?
Stinks. Yeah.
Now that means that birds will actually come and sit here and eat this. So, now you've got bait.
Okay. Just put it in your teeth and then go. It doesn't taste of anything. It's not that bad.
You never, ever aim at anything that you do not want to hurt with a rubber band over the top of the white post. You aim and release. Okay, there you go.
On our afternoon safari, Andres shows the kids some more tracks.
I see footprints.
Now, it's a cat and it can retract its claws. If you see the claws, then it's not a cat. Then it's one of the dog family.
It looks like Clifford, the big red dog's friend.
A lion track, of course, it is the biggest cat that we've got.
Can we just find it?
Let's try and find him.
And they discover a termite's nest.
It's amazingly strong, isn't it? See, that's how it looks on the inside. Full of tunnels.
We're about to go up to a really close lion.
Back at camp, the cooks have prepared a special meal for us in the boma, a traditional African outdoor area surrounded by a wood fence and lit with glass lanterns, where the kids can try traditional dishes.
We have Cape Malay, we have Uzanzi boma,
or make their own pizzas.
After a full day of adventure yesterday, we start the day with brunch prepared in the bush by the Madikwe Safari Lodge chefs. Followed by a game of baseball, safari style. Then we head across the park, through a river, and on the other side we find one of Madikwe's darlings. We've seen African cats, so now it's time for...
There's a bunch of wild dogs right here, except they're only puppies. They're like house dogs, but they live in a hole.
Just beyond the wild dogs, we find a watering hole where elephants are congregating for an afternoon drink. Andres tells us male African elephants can reach 13,000 pounds. In fact, it eats about 16 hours every day and must drink 30 to 50 gallons of water. And as the sun sinks lower in the sky, Andres has a special surprise in store for sundowners. He's been on the radio with another guide and hunted down a special attraction, some friends of ours from home, who are also visiting Madikwe. So the kids roast marshmallows by the fire while we have drinks and swap stories. And as I watch the sun sink giant and red below the horizon for another fabulous African sunset, I think about what a fascinating lesson in history, both ancient and recent, and nature South Africa offers families, and appreciate my time here. Africa so far has lived up to my childhood dreams. Join us in our further adventures in Southern Africa as we continue to Cape Town and beyond.